Hello everyone, and thank you so much for registering to today's speaker series. I hope like everyone is staying safe and keeping well. Every week like we pick up a topic and we have an technology leader or a global market leader will be addressing a topic and giving an insight every Friday evening. And today, this Friday is something more special because like we have Balachandar and usually I'll brag people, whoever comes from the DCKAP for doing the session. And no, I have the same feeling for Balachandar Kaliyappan, I would say, because no, he's one of our alumni of DCKAP. So, which is something special, I would say. So let me use this opportunity to give you all a quick intro about DCKAP, the organization behind this speaker series. So DCKAP is a digital commerce agency helping businesses and brands abroad to create e-commerce storefronts. So that said, during these challenging times, being in the lockdown, it's very much important for every one of us to hone our skills to learn new things, to facilitate learning for our employees as well as for the general community. So DCKAP started hosting the speaker series, virtual events, so that happens every Friday. And thank you so much, everyone who have attended the previous session for your continuous support. And through speaker series, we bring in distinguished thought leaders, technology masters, and change makers around the globe to address on varied topics which matter most to the community. Having that said, today I'm very glad and proud to welcome Balachandar Kaliyappan, scientific assistant and doctoral student at the Technical University of Munich. And having done his academic studies in the various fields, Balachandar has, for the most part of his career, thought and worked on consumer decision making, behavioral economics, neuromarketing, and neuroeconomics. Among all this, his interest scatters more towards neuromarketing, and he has also published a couple of articles and research papers on it. And today he is about to enlighten on us for integrating topic pricing psychology on SaaS products. Stay put and he is going to answer many lingering questions. I hope you guys will have a great session today. And should you have any question, feel free to raise your question in the Q&A tab in the bottom panel of your Zoom. And having said that, and all the best, Balachandar, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation, and over to you.
So good afternoon here and then good evening in India. Welcome to the session, and we're going to talk about pricing psychology for SaaS products today. And let me share my screen. Okay, so and also I should also thank Srija for giving me a kind of a beautiful introduction to me, and where in which she told that I am an alumni of DCKAP. Yes, I worked for like a few months in DCKAP, but definitely I loved those days, and I want to get back into those days as well, right? And now we'll get into the session, and this is a bit critical times that we want to also understand how to price our SaaS products. Especially this will work when you are trying to launch a new product, and also if you're having your own product launched already, and if you want to do kind of a fine tuning on your pricing, and this session will definitely help you out. Okay. Let me see. Yeah. So in terms of today's session, what I'm going to cover is like, I'm going to cover rationality and irrationality and what are the difference between these two things. And also I'll talk about mental accounting as kind of a behavioral bias that people are having. And later on, I'll talk about reference pricing and pain of paying and price differentials, how that play an important role in your decision making. And later on, I'll talk about how to nudge customers towards some nudge customers using the price and is with respect to the context, and to push them towards some of the products. And we want them to buy the product, right? And how to do it. And there I'll cover like 4 different aspects. Okay. Okay. In terms of rationality and irrationality, what you're supposed to understand is that we all know any models that is built by economists, or assuming that people are rational in nature. And we can take a simple example here. And we all know that in terms of pricing models, whenever there's an increase in the price, and demand for the product will come down. And if you reduce the price, and the demand for the product will go up. And this is how the rational models are built upon. However, this is not the case, and people are behaving irrationally, and then they have a different opinion towards the pricing, right? And what happens is that, and the rational models are built with an ideology called as descriptive invariance. And descriptive invariance, in the sense, says if you change the price frames, that will not definitely affect the decision of people. However, this is not the case. Whenever you change the price frame, and basically affects the decision, and how that affects and why it is happening, and that is what we are going to see today. And as I told you, and we are not rational in nature in most of the decisions that we make, and what we do is like we'll definitely get into the area kind of rationality. And irrationality is not bad, okay? So don't take that in a case like it is bad for us. It is good in most of the cases. But what happens is that when you're trying to make very good decision, when you're trying to make a decision, sometimes it can lead to a suboptimal decision. And why does it happen? Because it of three reasons. One is like you don't have enough capacity to work on computing multiple numbers. Right? Imagine that I give you like 10, 15 products, and then I have to ask you to assess these 15 products and try to find the best one. And it is really tough for anyone to come out with the best solution. And also, not all the information that we are getting is perfect. And because of that, we'll have some sort of errors that we make. And also, we don't have enough time to work on all these 15 products and then come out with the optimal solution. So what we do is like, instead of getting into the rationality aspect, what we do is like, we'll get into something called as bounded rationality. So what does bounded rationality means? The bounded rationality says that we all will try to satisfy ourselves, and that is called satisficing. And rather than having a kind of trying to arrive at a rational solution, which means you do not really do a lot of computations to come out with the right pricing, but instead you will say, okay, so some of my competitors have like $36 per year, and let me also set the same, right? So you will try to satisfy yourself with the decision that you're making. So sometimes that may lead to a suboptimal decision as well. So you need to be very careful with that. And with this introduction to rationality and irrationality, I'm going to talk about behavioral pricing today. So we are not worried about the rational models today, and we are just worried about the irrational aspects, and then how we are going to capture or captivate this irrationality of consumers. And I have a few examples here in terms of behavioral pricing. And you can see on your left-hand side, you can find a credit card, and the credit card has a history. When credit card was introduced into the market, what happened is that they already also had a surcharge, and any customer who is getting the credit card is supposed to pay a surcharge for using the credit card. And this is not accepted by any of the customers, and they were really feeling bad about it. Hence, what these credit card people did is like they went to the retailers and then said, okay, so can you just increase the price by like some basis, and then provide discount to the people who are using cash, but charge at the higher price who are using the credit card, which means the price is inflated and then reduced only for the people who are using cash, which means you are indirectly paying the surcharge for using a credit card. And now people accepted it, and for no reason, right? So it's the same thing, but if the framing or it's like the way that the price has been displayed to people changes, and the behavior and acceptance of people will also change. And the next case, you can see there is iPhone 6 Plus with different varied pricing, and this is called as odd pricing. And all the prices ends at 99, or which means we always read left to right. And what happens is that we remember an anchor towards the left digit. And because of that, what happens is that you normally, if I ask you the price of a 16 GB iPhone 6 Plus, you'll normally say that, okay, 200 or something, but not 300. Right? These are done and dusted pricing models. Okay, so we'll not talk about this much, but predominantly this odd pricing works, and this increases sales of a company as well. Okay, so let's get into the behavioral pricing part, and where I specifically focus on mental accounting. And whenever you're trying to do some sort of buying, or it's like when you're trying to involve yourself in some sort of decision making, especially when it comes to money, and you always have some mental accounts. Think about your salary. Imagine you are getting like 10,000 rupees per month, or like $10,000 per month. And what you do is like you will normally allocate this money in some pockets, right? You'll say that, okay, so $1,000 goes to rent and $2,000 goes to some of the other requirements, or like to the bank loan or something like that. And then you'll have something like, okay, $500 for my vacation, or $300 for my food expense. And these are buckets, and these buckets will help you to probably set up your own budget. And if there is something, imagine on a day, and when you had a budget of like $500 for your vacation, and if you exceeded that by 50 rupees, and then you'll feel like, okay, I think I exceeded my budget, and you feel bad about it. And sometimes when you have some sort of excess amount left, and then you feel, okay, I saved some money from my vacation, maybe I can use it for the next year, or you can use it for something else, right? So you always have some sort of mental account. And this mental account has been classified into 6. And out of the 6, I'll just focus on few things. And I'll focus on loss aversion and partition pricing and combined currencies and transaction utility. And we can also talk about multiple discounts, but that is not in our focus for the session. And also we have segregation, integration, and expenses. So how you work with your money, basically, okay? So how you spend, how you think about those things. And the multiple discounts, in a sense, it talks about how these discounts are taken care of. For instance, if you see multiple discounts on one product, and how you assess it. But that is not our goal for the session today. Okay, so let's get into loss aversion. And for this theory, I was like, loss aversion basically comes from a theory called as prospect theory, and where it says that any sort of gain that you're getting, and you will only feel that, okay, kind of a smaller increase, but if you incur a loss and you feel more, okay, imagine you are trying to bet for a match, okay, and if you win 100 rupees, or say $100, and the money that you're getting will be stored in your mental account, but it will not have much it will not give you much happiness, right? But when you're losing the same 100 rupees, or say $100, what happens now is that the amount of pain that you are feeling, or it's like the loss that you're feeling, will be steep. Okay, so that is what is reflected here. And for this theory, and Tversky and Kahneman, Tversky's no more, and Kahneman is there, and because of that nature, and Nobel Prize is normally awarded to people who are alive, and Kahneman got a Nobel Prize for this theory. So any gain that you're having will be basically having a small, it will add some sort of small happiness, but if that is a loss, and then you'll become more sad for that. Okay, so consider any of your family situation, it's going to happen like that only. Okay, so based on this, and we're going to talk about, like, remember the prospect theory now, right? So losses looms large, and the gains are not really, really not a big. It's not going to make a big difference. And now let's talk about reference pricing, right? And this talks about transaction utility in other aspects. Okay, let's omit the technical aspect. Let's talk about reference price here. And I have 2 products, and I'm going to ask you to guess the price of the products. Okay, on the left-hand side, you have milk carton. On the right-hand side, you have a basketball, right? And feel free to post. Now, I think you cannot really chat, maybe, but maybe you can put it in the Q&A and show me, tell me the price, right? So that's really important. And I just want to know, okay, I think chat is kind of enabled. Okay, so there is milk is $4, and Praveen says it is 50, 800. Okay, so any other price? Okay, so $1 to $2 for milk. Yeah, and basketball $15. Okay. All right. Okay, so now we are getting a few more answers, like $3, and then basketball $10. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so ball is like for 10 and milk is for 5. I assume that is in dollars. And basketball, $9.8. Okay, to be more precise, right? So it's like $9.8, not 10 or 15. Perfect. Yeah. So it depends upon where it is delivered and shipping cost is included. Okay, so that is what one of the participants says, right? Of course, that's true, but we're not attaching any other elements, extraordinary elements to it, but we are just guessing just the price of the products. And in general, like the milk cartons, if it is like 500 ml or something, it is going to cost you somewhere around 99 cents, right? And if it is a basketball, and it's going to cost you somewhere around, it depends upon the brand, it depends upon the other things, but it can cost you somewhere around, $5 till $15, right? But if that's a branded basketball, it can also go to $25 or $30, right? And why, for example, say when you wanted to guess milk, and did you find any kind of difficulty, right? It might be easy for you. Why? Because milk is being, you might have bought it all along. And in Germany, I know the price of all the milk products because I normally go to the stores and then buy it. And I bought basketball only once in my life after I arrived to Munich, and I paid somewhere around 25 euros, but not to be precise. So what happens is that some of the products you will have some sort of more experience to the product. For some products, you will not any experience. So the price that your mind remembers and then keeps in a kind of a place, right? And that is called as reference price. Okay, and this reference price is what you normally use to judge whether to pay or whether to accept or reject a deal, right? Imagine in the case of like I'm trying to buy milk, and if I have a reference price is like $1, and if a product, if I go to the store and find the milk is sold at like $5, then I'll have a kind of a problem, right? And there's a question in the chat box saying whether it's an anchor price. This is not anchor price. Anchor price is different, and the way that is used in a context. But in this case, this is all about your memory. Okay, so we will talk about this a bit in depth. Okay, and now this reference price can be classified into two. One is called as memory-based pricing. So memory-based reference pricing. For example, say when it comes to your milk, and what you had is like a memory-based reference pricing because you bought it and have used it, and you often have interaction with it, and because of that, you keep that in mind. Right? The next one is called a stimulus-based reference price because you don't have much interaction with the basketball, and you do not really remember the price. Only when you see the stickers, or it's like when you see the price of different basketballs online, and then you will compare and contrast each and every price. Yeah. So this is a stimulus-based reference price. And it's going to be the same for SaaS products, right? So when it comes to SaaS products, and if someone is someone has like quite a lot of experience with your product, or like if they had experience with your competitive products, he will have a strong reference price. And in some other cases, if he is a newbie to the tech world altogether, and then he will not definitely have any sort of memory-based reference price, and you're supposed to refers to the stimulus-based reference price. So he will go to different competitors, and then he will basically look at those reference prices and then come to a conclusion whether that is suiting my budget or not. Okay, so there is one person raising the hand, and if that is a question, I can allow it. Okay, so if that's not a question, and let's proceed with this, right? Imagine I'm going to give you a kind of table. Now we have reference price, and then you have your company's price. Okay, and assume these are in dollars, and your customer as a person, like he has a strong, consistent reference price. He just have it like $450, and imagine you're going to have your price at like $457 for example, right? And now you go back to the prospect theory, right? So the loss that he's incurring is like just 7 rupees, or it's like $7, but he's going to feel more because he's going to incur a loss. But still, the difference between the reference price and the company's price is really low. And if that's a branded or not a brand product, he do not really care about it. But if it's a branded product, he'll accept it more. And the second case where you can find that the company price is like way higher than his reference price. Okay, he had his reference price, like he wanted to pay only $450, but in this case now he wants to pay he has to pay like $550, $560, right? The difference between these two is like $110. Now, the losses are like really large, and then he's gonna really feel for it, right? So what happens is if that is not a branded product, and there is more chance that he will reject your uh, no, for services, right? Or it's like he'll not pay for it. He'll not be ready to get your product. If your product is a branded product, and he'll think about his affordability, and if he can, and if there is no alternative available, and then he will get your product. Okay. And that's the third case where if you're a branded product and they can accept or reject, it can happen, and it depends upon his budget and other things, but he'll look for value, right? So he'll look for, like, when he wanted to pay $450, now he's paying $560. So he'll say that, okay, I think there is some sort of value for the extra money that I give, and then he will accept it, or else he will reject it. And the fourth case, what happens is that in this case, even your reference price is like $450, and your company's price is like somewhere around $350, and now the gain is $100. As I told you, like, the gain is not normally not normally coded as a higher one. And now, if your branded product is if you're not a branded product, and he can either accept or reject, yeah. But when he's rejecting, or like even when he's accepting, he will normally question the quality of the product, and he'll worry about, okay, so do I think, like, I wanted to pay $450, but now I am just getting it $350, and I'm really doubtful about the quality that I'm going to get it. Right? This normally happens when you're even buying any of the electronic goods, right? And imagine now the reference price for any Apple products are in like $1,000, right? And if Apple comes and says that, okay, so now you just need to pay only around $200 for my product, and that would be the case now, right? You will normally assume that there's some sort of ploy, or like you'll feel that, okay, the quality is going to be really bad. That's definitely not Apple for sure, right? That is what happened with iPhone SE, and because of the reference price and then the company's price not really match up, okay? And then the last one is like, if you're having your company's reference price at company's price at $350, and still there is $100 gain, but what happens is that people will accept it because you're a brand company. But as I told you with the Apple example, right? So there are chances that you can also have a problem, but the acceptance will happen with the case of like trust, right? They will believe in your company's name, and then they'll believe in the value that you're providing, and then get it. And people who are like aspiring to buy from your company, right? And but they did not really had some sort of budget with them, and now these people will come and buy from your company. Okay. And the next aspect that we are going to talk is called as all-inclusive pricing. In most of the SaaS products, what we do is like we normally have put everything together. So whatever we are offering, and it's a kind of web server or web application, or it's like the money that we are paying to the developer, and everything is put up together, and then we say that, okay, so for one user, or it's like for 10 users, and then we're going to charge you $50 or $30 per month. Okay, so this is called all-inclusive pricing, and this example is from Salesforce.com. And there are problems with, there are a lot of benefits with this all-inclusive pricing, but there are also problems. We'll discuss about that. Okay, so what are the pros and cons, right? In terms of the all-inclusive pricing, people normally feel really happy about it, because imagine that I have a reference price, right, of like $25, and if I get like $10 per month, and I'll be really happy for that, right? And this happened to me when I bought the DataKamp license for a year, right? So I thought I'll have to pay like $50. And at the end of the day, I just paid somewhere around $26 or something, which means I felt like, okay, yeah. So everything included, like all the projects, quite a lot of value for money, and I feel really happy about it. And since this all-inclusive pricing includes every single thing, right? There's no hidden charges. There is no additional charges for the service that I'm availing. And the pain of paying is reduced. Okay, we'll talk about the pain of paying in detail in the later slides. Okay, and also it conveys a strong value proposition, right? So it means that, okay, so I paid like $10, but I have a lot of things to take in. And this is what happens with the gym membership as well, right? So you pay like 15,000 rupees, or like maybe you pay $20 per month, and you can use the entire gym, right? So without any sort of hindrance, and that's going to convey the value that is being delivered to the customer. The problem with this sort of pricing is the price will stick in the mind of the customers, okay, and they will definitely keep this in mind for a longer time. And when you partition the price, right, so imagine that you are going to have a base price and then you have additional charges, and in that case the memory becomes lucid, and people will normally forget the additional charges but they'll remember the base price. So all the time your base price of your product will be somewhere around $5 or something, but that only that will be remembered, not the additional charges. But when you're having an all-inclusive pricing strategy, this price will stay in the mind for a longer time. So that is why when I said about DCKAP license, and I said that, okay, I paid $126 because that is all-inclusive pricing. So breaking this price will be a challenge for your company. Right? So when you're trying to increase your price of your company, and you're supposed to be very careful that, okay, so you should offer a lot of even more additional benefits to the customers to say that, okay, or it's like say that, okay, I increase the price because of these additional features. Yeah, and also you need to convey your benefits, and you need to bundle a lot of other stuff. Also, you need to provide a proper rationale for increasing the price. Right, and also it is difficult to assess the reference price, especially when it comes to SaaS products, right? So when you're trying to sell products online, and you are not really meeting the people often, most of the times, right? Especially if they are kind of enterprise, they want to get for a big company, and then they will call you and then talk to you. But in general, if I'm a kind of an individual user like me, right, DCKAP never met me, and they may not really know my reference price, and that's a hard challenge to set your price. Yeah, and you can also talk. Let's talk about the partition pricing. Okay, the partition pricing will look like this. In a sense, you'll have $19 per month for a web application usage, and then you can say that $5 for the for the web application web server usage. There's a mistake here in the slide, and then $4 for the service support. Yeah, but we don't really do this partition pricing in SaaS products. In the why? Why do you think so? So I can say that the nature of the product itself makes a difference, right? In a sense, if you're a SaaS product, and what happens is that it's hard to perceive the value of the product. Yeah, it cannot be realized easily, right? If I'm just buying a iPhone or some like a bicycle or even a car, and I can see it physically, but in this case, it's a service, and the perceived value of any customers would be difficult. Yeah, and also subscriptions become a problem. That is another answer that is coming from in chat box, and which is also right in the sense I'm not really sure for which I am going to pay. Right? Should I just pay for the web application, or should I just pay for the web server, or should I just pay for the service support? Right? And that might be some sort of difficult decision now the customer has to make. Right? And also there are like if I'm there are 3 different prices, right, for each and every thing that I'm delivering, and the losses for each and every service that is offered by the company can accumulate together and make a huge impact on the decision, right? And that can lead to the prospectivity aspect, and then people will go into the risk aversion phase. And there are chances that, okay, so the base of your product is your web application, not the web server, or not the service support, right? The web application itself can get its value undermined, and people will not think very good about the web application, right? Imagine they had a reference price like $30 or something, and if you say that the web application only for the web application usage you just pay $10, now the value of this web application will come down, and that's why the partition pricing does not really work with SaaS products. Okay. And the next case, we'll talk about the pain of paying, and where I'll just explain you about an experiment, right? And this is done in the fMRI lab, right? MRI scanners, and they placed people in the MRI scanners and asked to look at the product for 4 seconds, and also the product's price for 4 seconds, and then asked like whether you want to pick this product or not to pick this product. So here in this case, they asked people to pick Godiva chocolate. And then they said that the price of the chocolate is going to be $7. And later on, they said that whether you want to pick or not Godiva chocolate. And the results basically clarifies a few information saying that your brain has some sort of pattern, right? And there is some part of your brain that codes your physical pain. And if you're hit by an iron rod, or like if you're hit by any other material, right? And the part called as insula codes this physical pain. And this happened when this price was also informed to customers. Okay, and when they just saw the product and the preference is encoded, and the nucleus accumbens that codes the desire or reward of any human being and is active, right? But when the price information is given to customers, and then the insula become active, right? And what they feel is like they equate the price to the physical pain that people are occurring. Right? And later on, there is the next part of your brain called as medial prefrontal cortex, and this encodes gain of any of your decisions, right? And imagine that you're winning a bet, and then medial prefrontal cortex will be active. But when this price information is presented, that part of the brain become inactive, in the sense it got suppressed, not inactive, but got suppressed. So it basically says that physical pain is equal to the price that you're paying to the product. And that's a big issue. And we are supposed to mitigate this problem, okay? And how you can reduce the pain of pain. And each and everybody, whenever you're trying to churn out some money from your pocket, and you're basically feeling the pain, and as a company, you're supposed to reduce this pain so that people feel good about them, like good about paying it. One thing that you can do is like you can go for all-inclusive pricing and then ask them to prepay it, and not to like don't ask them to choose the product for like 30 days and then ask them to pay for it later, but always ask them to prepay. And this strategy is kind of already applied in most of the SaaS products. Or else like if don't ask them to give in cash, ask them to give in credit card. And the cash payment normally increases the pain of any customers, because that is physically taken from their pockets and they're expending it, and that will definitely add more pain to them. And also, you normally see that when you go and shop on Amazon stores your card information, and then they will basically allow you to buy any products with just one click. So you are not going through n number of process to buy products. And when you are going through this process, what happens is that there are chances that you will decline the payment towards the product, right? Because you will think a lot, you will think soundly, but to avoid these kind of problems, and Amazon stores the card, and then you just one click and you just pay for it. So you don't, and also just going through a cart, and you don't really feel painful when you're paying for the product, right? So always think about, if you're a SaaS company and if you're having a SaaS product, think about integrating these kind of networks within your system, so that people do not really feel pain in renewing your subscriptions. And also think about talking about like the value that you're going to provide, right? So tell them that how long they're going to be supported, right? So where they are supported all 300 all through the year, and are they supported like 24/7? And this needs to be put in place. So when they think about time, they normally don't feel painful when they are thinking about money. Okay, and also try to think about making your dollar values into a fictitious money. And that's what's happening with all the games, right? So if you look at any games and you pay somewhere $2 or $3, and then you get hundreds or 200 gems, and you use the gem. So when you use a gem, you don't feel more painful. But when you use the $2, imagine if I'm going to put, instead of the gems, I'm going to put you like $2 on the top of it. And you feel like, okay, I think I'm spending a lot of money. But when you are using gems, you don't feel like that. So try to incorporate a kind of, fictitious money, and then ask people to pay through that one, and that will definitely help them to reduce the pain. Yeah, and this is about pain of paying. And in the next aspects, we'll talk about the price differentials. In the price differentials, what we are trying to cover up is you have normally as a SaaS product, so you normally have some sort of 3 or 4 different buckets, or like you will have product for 3, 4 segments. And this difference between these prices, right? Difference between 119 to 189, and difference between 189 to 299. The difference between these things make a lot of calamities when it comes to decision making. Okay, and look at this example here. And whenever you are trying to use a price differential strategy, and you're trying to have like 3, 4, having setting price for 3, 4 segments, don't always give the absolute differences. Okay, if you look at a bronze category in the absolute levels, like it is $29, and the silver category is $9, and the gold category is $89. So it means there is an increment of 30 all the time, which means what happens is that for each and every increment, they will expect double the times of the value from your services. And also there is least chance that people pick gold, or like they will not see gold category as a premium category, because there is like only 30 like equal amount of increase. And so if you make that relative, right? So if you make it relative differential points like $29 and then $45 ish and then 89, now people will feel that, okay, I think gold is more premium, and then they may think about buying silver or bronze, or else if they want to have the premium appeal, and then they'll go for this gold segment, right? And always try to estimate these price differentials and make it more relative instead of presenting absolute values. And that's what given here as a point. And then we always talked about price, and we also talked about like the pain of paying, and we should also talk about the price and quality relationship. Okay, and higher the price, higher the quality is the general term. And this was not really assessed in the neuroscientific way. And there was one neuroscientific study that was conducted, and then this assessed and found that, okay, the price and quality has more relationship, like a kind of a linear relationship. Okay. And what they found is like they asked people to, the same fMRI scanner was used, and which is kind of an MRI scanner, and asked people to drink wine when they're lying down. Okay. And what they changed is that the price of the wine got changed. The wine stays the same, but only the price of the wine got changed when it was informed to people. Either they said that, okay, they are going to drink a $5 wine, or they are going to drink a $45 wine. And similarly, there's like $10 wine and $90 wine. And there's a kind of a neutral one, which does not really have any sort of information. They just drank wine. And also they had a $35 wine. And what happens is that there is one part of your brain that normally codes this experience pleasantness. So that is called as medial orbitofrontal cortex, like MOFC. And this part of your brain normally encodes any sort of pleasantness that you're experiencing. And if you're feeling good about it, and this part of good about consumption or good about any of your incidences, and this part of the brain will get activated. And when people reported when they tracked when people consume $5 wine, and also they tracked this part of the brain when they consume $45 wine. And surprisingly, what happens is that when they consume $5 wine, the activity of this part of the brain is least compared to the $45 wine. And that's the case with $10 and then $90 wine, right? Even it's like larger. So which means when people are paying more price and they're experiencing more pleasantness, and also they're, it is signaling that the price and quality is strongly related. Like, and always when your price is higher, and they'll expect more quality from your product. Okay, so that is what you're supposed to understand as a kind of key takeaway. Okay. And now we will get into the exciting part of like nudging customers to buy products. So now this comes into the case where one of our participants said that, okay, whether that is called as anchoring, and now we'll talk about anchoring here. Okay. And I would recommend you to write 3 digits of your phone number, on a paper, or like maybe in the chat box, wherever you want to write, right? And then I'll ask you to guess the price of the product. Yeah, do that. Okay, I think are you posting the price, or like are you posting the phone number? always try to write the phone number in some place, and later on, and guess the price of the product. So I would recommend you to post the price over here, or maybe write like this. Okay, so your phone number, for me it is 740. Yeah, and then price that I would like to give is maybe 500 or something, right? Something like this. And this will help us to compare and contrast how this anchoring is playing a role. Yeah. Let me give you like a couple of minutes, and then let's get into let's discuss about anchoring here. Okay, so there is one in the chat box saying like 207 and then 499, and there's one more here is like a 102 and then 10. Perfect. 489 and 120. Yeah, good. Perfect. So we got okay, so 101 and then 100 rupees. So I was like 99.99, and then 969 and then 200 and 803 and 550. Yeah. Then what you can normally see is that when their numbers are higher at the end, and their propensity to pay more is higher, right? And this will not be always strong like what we see, right? So anchor is your phone number, and the phone number acted as an anchor. And when your phone number ends in the larger digits like 700, 800, and you have higher propensity to pay for this lamp compared to the least numbers, right? When you had only 100 or 200 at the end, and people wanted to pay less for this lamp, and this phenomenon is called as anchoring. And this was also studied by a professor called Dan Ariely, and where he found he asked students to write the social security numbers, right, in the US, and he asked to write the last 2 digits of their social security number and asked them to guess different products, now price of the different products. And you can see here the social security number ends at in between 00 until like 19, and then 20 till 39, and goes on till like 80 till 99. And what you can see as a prediction here, or like kind of a phenomenon that you observe here, is called this number play an important role in the bid that they gave for this, or like the willingness to pay for these products. And when they are at the least, when they are like 0, 0 and then 19, okay, and then they are willing to pay somewhere around, on average, right, on an average, they are willing to pay like $8.64 for the trackball. But when their number ended at 80 to 90, and they are willing to pay more at like $26, right? And this pattern is observed not only for this product, for all the products, even for a wine and for a rare wine, or like even for a design book or Belgian chocolates. So the first information that you encounter in a store, or like when you visit a website as a price, is going to play an important role. And sometimes the people who design SaaS products, or like sell SaaS products, use this really well, but sometimes they don't use it. Okay, let's see an example here. So look at here as an example. So you got exposed to 45 because you're reading always from left to right, and 45.82 is the first information that you're going to gather. And later on, you look at it 27.49, then you'll later on look at like 9.616. So what happens is that now your brain will process like, okay, this is going to be really high for me. It might not suit my budget. Maybe I can go for the standard one, right? But imagine that if I'm going to have only 27.49 and then 9.16, and you'll stick on and go for like 9.16. Right? But this is not always the case, right? So anchoring can be adjusted as well over the time. And whenever you get exposed to new anchors, your adjustments will also take place over there. But this first information play an important role when it comes to pricing. So if the first information that the customer gets is going to impact their future decisions. Okay, and there are higher chances that people will go and buy the standard ones here, because the first information they got is like 45.82. Okay, Now we are going to talk about decoy effect, and decoy effect is normally known to many people, and that's also called as attraction effect. Imagine that you want to buy a new camera, and you have two options now. Okay, and in this case, will you buy camera A or camera B? And you can put that in the chat box. Look at the price and then look at the quality rating, and then make a decision now and tell me which one you want to buy. Camera B, okay. Camera B, okay. Perfect, good. Right, so now let's get to the next part, okay. And I'm going to add one more option. And what do you want to buy now? Still camera B, okay, perfect. B again, yeah, B, okay, there's no change in the decision. But when the same question was asked to people and kind of not kind of common common ground, right? What happens is that when you are adding a suboptimal, in this case, people wanted to buy camera A because of their budget and other reasons. And the probability of selecting camera A was higher, but people rejected this camera B, even though its quality is higher. And the probability of buying this camera B was less, right? Due to the budget constraints. But when they added this suboptimal decision of C, and there was higher chance of picking camera B. And so the suboptimal decision is like you have a higher price, right? And but the quality rating is less, and nobody wants to pay more for a less quality rating. Hence, people gravitate to this camera B option, which did not really happen to us, right? So that might happen because of the experience that you are having with the product and what kind of attribute that you're looking at, right? If you're really focused on the quality aspects, then you look for camera B. But that may not be the case with all the general public, right? And here, this option C acted as a decoy and increased the probability. But if you also look at some of the examples that is predominantly explained by professors across the globe, and you have a small cup of popcorn for $3, and you have a large cup of popcorn for $7, and what you will pick. And predominantly people picked a $3 popcorn, but when a decoy was added at $6.5, and people start to move towards the $7 popcorn. Yeah, and this is one more example for decoy. But this decoy will always work when there's a suboptimal information, right? So the decoy should have kind of inferior quality, and in that case it will work, or else it will not work. Okay, so now let's get into the next aspect that is called as similarity effect. And still, you still want to buy a camera again, and now which one you will buy? Okay, so let's see in the chat box. B again. I think people are more liking camera B for no reasons, right? Perfect, right? Good. So people want to buy B, yeah. And then let's add one more example. Now, for the same thing, what kind of preference do you have? Now you have camera A, camera C, and camera B. Okay, so let's see. People want to buy C, okay. People want to buy A. Okay. Again, B because of quality. Yeah, perfect. So that is what, right? So if you're an informed customer and if you know everything about something, and then if you are having a kind of a clear preference in your mind, and these kind of effects do not really work. And these effects really work when you're in uncertainty, when you do not really know anything about cameras, and if you're just trying to beat around the bush with the price and other stuff. And in that case, these pricing strategies work. Right? And this talks about like kind of new customers who is coming in and then who does not really know any kind of idea about SaaS products. Right? In general, there's a questionable aspect that they can also buy camera A. And when I add some similar points, right? The camera A and camera C is quite similar. And what happens is that this addition of camera C will help in, it will basically lose the market share to B, because some people will say that, okay, I still want to stick to camera B and then buy B. And the B, what happens is that, the A will basically lose to C, right? And because people think that there is no basic advantage because I'm buying camera A, but people normally now the market share will be heavily on this camera B or camera C, right? So then that increases the probability of choosing B as well, right? These things work really well when you're having kind of uncertainty in your decision point. Right? And let's go to the next one, and this calls compromise effect. And this talks about the tendency to choose something in the middle, right? Think about this one as well, right? So I don't want to ask it now because you have already explained a lot. Now you can, if you're looking at the quality rating, you'll buy camera B. And if you're just trying to beat with the price or looking at the budget, and then you'll buy camera A, right? And the probability of selecting camera A is higher, even though the quality rating is lesser. And this was studied as well. Why? Because of the budget constraints with people. And in the next case, what they have done is like they added another camera option, and this camera option is like far more superior than the camera A and camera B. And now what people start to do is like they will normally avoid these extremes. One is with the least price and least quality, and there's a higher price and higher quality. And now people will start gravitate towards the middle option again. And this is called as compromise effect. And when you're trying to price your products, and especially think about these kind of effects, and think about whether you can use these kind of effects in your pricing decisions. And that's the goal of exposing you all to this particular, strategies. Okay. And also, I wanted to focus on this UX design and pricing, and this is going to be the last part of your session, and where the UX design play an important role when it comes to price, right? And here you can see initially when the price is displayed, and mostly my attention will go to this $25 priced one. Why? Because that is kind of made salient, and then the attention is that is also made clear, differentiated from the rest of the group, and even the free and then the premium is kind of masked in the sense it's not clearly shown, and it's shown but it's not projected much like the standard one. So when this is highlighted, and people normally feel that it's kind of recommended to people, right? And let's go for the next one. In the sense where it talks about the UX design normally tells people or recommends people which one to pick. Okay, in the same case here, right? And whether you want to go for free or whether you want to go for premium, but it looks like the company is suggesting you to buy standard one is kind of a recommended one to you. And also this can increase the attention of the customers, right? So where people fixate first, right? How your eyes are going to fix first is going to play an important role. So in this case, you may think that as a normal if you look at the vision principles, and people normally fixate at the standard option here rather than the premium and the free option. Okay. And as well as like the standard option, like the ones that was made salient will also become an anchor, and that will help to evaluate the other choices. Yeah. So the key part here in terms of like US design is the saliency, like what you're trying to project and how you're going to project it. Right? And the color differentiation of these UX design will also play a role in terms of decision, right? If there's like gold, and then if there's also gold plated, and then if there's kind of if you're bronze, silver, and gold, if you differentiate that the same with the color, and people will also associate themselves with in terms of like decision, and then they think that okay, the bronze is going to have kind of least value, silver is going to have a moderate value, gold is going to have a premium value, and this can be used though the prices are there, and this UX design can enhance the price values and then help people to make a decision. Okay, so if you look at here, you can see this is a very good design in terms of projecting what are the different prices, and also you look at the price differentials, they are also very clean and clear. They are not equally changing, but the change is kind of in a relative way. And this one is most recommended for me. If you look from the perspective of saliency and other aspects, and this is what given here, right? Now, I'm going to give you one other example. Then you will find, okay, why this, when the UX design is not good and what will happen. Okay, so this is going to be the last part of your session. And let's end up with a kind of a small discussion here. Okay, so this is, this actually took from a hotel, and they displayed about the rooms that is available and the number of people who can stay in the room, and single bed and double bed and then triple bed kind of room. And do you think they have applied all the principles that we talked earlier throughout the session? And do you think they have made a very good use of UX design to make it more salient? Like, do they recommend some product, or it's like, do they recommend some sort of service? And do you think it's a very good strategy to go ahead? Yeah. So let's see in the chat box. No. Okay. Yeah. Even I feel the same, right? So because you are supposed to use the right kind of UX design as to promote your product, right? If you want to sell the single one, right, and tell them that make it more salient, make it more embossed, and tell them, okay, this is what we are recommending, and you can pick this one, and also talk about what kind of amenities that they can get, and add those kind of benefits. The more the descriptive, and people are willing to pay more. And I just kind of omitted most of the things, especially in terms of like audio and pricing, because not normally talk through most of the people normally get exposed to these kind of pricing and then they know about it, right? Hence, I just omitted, right? But also when it comes to premium pricing and the price endings with 2, 3, 4, and then 6, 7 is normally considered as a higher price, or like a luxury product. But if they have a kind of a price at 0 and 5, and that is considered as a kind of a low value product. And if you have a price ending with 9, and this kind of a also considered as a low value product. And these things are normally known to people, hence I just kind of omitted those stuff. Yeah. And this is the end of the session. And now I am open to questions. And we can also see some more information coming in the chat box saying that it lacks information. It does not really talk about the other things like amenities, perks, and pets aspects or related to the hotel stay. Yeah. All right. So if Shija is here, and we can go to her. Okay. So there's a question in the chat box, and maybe I'll try to address that one before going to Shija. And freemium versus paid plan, how to do it in a SaaS, right? And you need to have clear-cut winner here. In the sense, freemium, and you offer the very basic product of your very basic product to people, right? And then get them used to it. And that's what we are doing with most of the products, right? So if you look at DCKAP, and what they do is like they'll expose you to the platform, and they want you to get used to the platform, and then they want to get used to it, right? So once you get used to it, and then you'll think about, okay, whether to buy or not to buy, because and once you got used to it and you feel like, okay, you're kind of obliged to that one, and there are higher probability that you will pay. And in terms of paid plan, always make it more beneficial to people, right? Add more value to people. And if you're looking here in this case, okay, so if you look at here, and you can see people also think in terms of number of information that is coming here. You can see this is a very good strategy, but also I would add even more list to this premium plan, right? In general, what people see is that, okay, I'm getting like 7 benefits here, like 6 benefits here, right? But here, look at like 4. So I normally think in terms of 6 and 4, but I'll not really look in depth of the value that I'm going to derive, right? But this one gives more value, but this is not explicitly shown in this UX design. Okay, so that's a pain, right? So when you're trying to have a paid plan, make it more clear and tell them what kind of value that people are going to get. Right. So there is one more question in the chat box saying, when you offer a free plan, what would be the point that we should have the customer paying to it? Yeah. Okay, that's a very good question, right? In sense, when everything is offered for free? And do you think people will pay for it in future? Okay. Think about PUBG, right? So when people are playing PUBG game, right? So it's a kind of online platform, right? People are using it and people paying it for free, right? And so you get a lot of users, and the turnout of, like, imagine that you're having like 1,000, 2,000 users, and at least somewhere around 100, 200 people are going to pay for it, right? And in PUBG, and you're not getting anything, like you're just getting entertainment, but you're just paying for the skins that you're going to change, right? So when you're trying to make it more individualistic, and you want to improve your identity among the players, and you pay for it. Yeah. And similarly, in this case, when it comes to SaaS products, what you're supposed to do is, like, you're offering a free service, and if he sees a clear benefit in that particular freemium, and then he'll think about, okay, let me also pay and get it in future, and it's going to support me. But you are supposed to have a limit of to the access. Like, you should not really offer everything for free, and keep some sort of limit to it. And later on, say that, okay, and if you're really enjoying my services, and you can also additionally pay, you can also pay for my service, and then use the paid ones. Right. So there's one more question in the chat box. Why do companies offer 1+1 offer with higher price? And they can reduce the cost of single package stuff too. Yeah. This is also a nice question, and this is also have a problem, especially when it comes to Flipkart, when it comes to Amazon. Sometimes they will mess up in this kind of bundling. When you're trying to do price bundling, and the bundle value should be lesser than the individual prices. Okay, and this happened once with Chetan Bhagat's book, and each and every book is somewhere around 100, and it was a pack of like three, and if you buy it individually, you're supposed to pay only 300 for that one, and when that was offered as a bundle, that is supposed to be somewhere around 250, but Amazon sold, not Amazon, like Flipkart sold it like 350 or something, but I'm not really sure about the numbers, but that was way higher than the individual prices. And when you do it, people normally easily spot it, and then they can basically question you a lot, and the value of your brand will come down. And always, if you're a company and if you're trying to offer some sort of bundles, make sure that these two bundled offers are like less in value. Okay. Do we have any other questions?
Thank you so much, Bala. It was a great session, and it was an interactive one as well. And thank you, everyone. And we appreciate everyone for being here. And thank you so much for your time. And thanks again for joining us today. And we will see you next week with an amazing speaker lined up for the week. And until then, bye-bye. Yeah, thank you.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Wish you to have a nice evening, and then have a nice weekend as well.